Okay, being 5:15, I'd like to call the January 30th Economic Development Committee meeting to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call has been taken. Need a motion to adopt or to approve the minutes from November 28th.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Belinda, second by April to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public comment? Being no public comment, we will move into, I think we'll lump these two together. Discuss ideas to promote economic development and growth in the city. Back in November, we had some homework to research, and we're going to go through that. I just want to start by saying that the point of this homework was to give you the opportunity to give input and create some ideas of discussion for possible economic development in the city. We won't be able to implement all of these ideas, but they can be kept in mind for future thoughts. The point of this committee is to assist the staff with ideas for economic development within the city. We are here to bring new ideas to the table that would make our town a better place to live, work, and play. I wanted to get everyone involved in the process, and this was your opportunity to chime in with your own thoughts and ideas. So I think what we'll start with is I kind of put a little bit together on my own, and then we'll go through our submission ideas. If you guys have your submission ideas, I'll go to you and you can read your own. If you don't, just say, I'll read it for you. I have everybody's submissions. I started out with placemaking, the use of an architect to design the area between Johns and Longevity. I've talked about this in the past. Use this area as a starting off point for the placemaking projects to give people an idea of what can be done. Design this as a venue for music, food trucks, and small events available for rent, thus bringing in additional income for upkeep of the space. The facade grant is a great program. I thought maybe we could do one building at a time so that the building can see the progress. Maybe put a little bit more into one at a time. It's a great idea. The pop-up mall, I kind of stole Chad's idea a little bit and tweaked it. He's going to report on his ideas later. Lease small shops and upcoming businesses for short terms. Divide the old Piggly Wiggly into smaller sections that can be turned into individual shops. Use this as a mall where people can come to shop, gather, and support the local small merchants and artists. I thought maybe we could hire an economic development director. Entertain the idea of hiring an economic development director. This person would be able to have the time to spearhead projects with the aid and assistance of the committee and subcommittees. And lastly, I hear so much about that back alley, how everyone doesn't like it and it's an eyesore. So I thought maybe what if we'd installed a 10-foot fence of treated wood on the back alley and then paint it. Have the Wolf River Art League put in "Welcome to New London" or something with some of our history, fishing and steamboats and stuff like that. So especially now with the development across the river, people are going to be looking at that back alley more, and this would give you a point of a place for your eyes to go, where it would not only hide the unsightly back alley, but it would be kind of a staple of the community. I just thought that would be kind of a way we could, address the back alley. So those are some of my ideas. We're going to go to Wyatt next. Wyatt was the first to submit his ideas. So Wyatt, would you want to share some of your ideas?
Yeah, so first on placemaking, similar to what you thought, Mr. Roberts. Between that area between Johns and Longevity, providing funding for like a multi-use area, similar to that stage that we saw a few meetings ago. And that would just encourage residents to get out and host their own placemaking events. And then if we decided we need to charge like a little cost or a little fee for that in order to use that for something that they may need a permit for, or to have that available for no cost, just like a space that can be used for a lot of different things. That's, you know, not like set in one type of use, and we could host a lot of different events there, or people could apply for permits or whatever they need to in order to do that. Then second, on the remote workers, I saw some other cities were offering kind of, they call it like a relocation stipend. And basically what they did is they, depending on the size of their city, they put aside funds to help people who are relocating to their city for the purpose of remote work, to set up their home offices and install like their Wi-Fi equipment with all that like one-time charge stuff. Or even some of the cities covered the first couple months of their Wi-Fi bills. So just a stipend to help them get set up in New London so that they can start their remote work, similar to the facade grant. I would think it would probably work like that. And then a second one on placemaking. The school district currently has an app called New London Connect, and that's just kind of a way to keep people informed. So I was thinking if we expanded upon that existing app to open it up to the greater community, or the city develop their own app similar to that, where residents could specifically discuss our city events or even organize that together. Just another way for people to understand what's going on in the city and communicate to one another about things they might like to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your input. Let's next address ideas brought to the table by John Fauché. You would like to, do you have yours, or do you want me to?
Well, of all the areas, I guess a person could go with the ideas, I kind of just focused on the event spectrum, placemaking more events. I love, although I totally agree with the location, you know, like that area between Longevity and stuff. But I kind of was just skimming the surface of some events since I got a little more experience in that back when we used to do River Rat Challenge and 4th of July events and stuff, and it brought some people. But I thought a lot about Hatton Park and Hatton Stadium. And back when I was a kid, I remember it was a big deal because that was the only ball diamond with lights back then. And it was a big deal to play under the lights. And I was thinking it would be really cool to host some kind of a national event, you know, not like Japan, Tokyo Little League Championship, but more of a younger kids, like a T-League tournament, and just kind of focus it in on the ball diamonds in Hatton Park. But, you know, you'd really tailor this towards younger families with kids and open up some temporary camping locations to accommodate visitors and guests. You know, the Thurn Farm Field, Historical Village, pool facilities and other parks to tap into. And we could even tap into other surrounding communities if it grew to that size. And obviously we'd want to coordinate entertainment programming to complement visitor experiences, you know, history tours, river trips, bonfires, barn dances, museum tours. And that's just kind of an event placemaking idea. The other event placemaking, possibly beyond that even, but a veteran center. New London does have a rich history of participation and serving our country, as you know, and there's been some research, and I think the Veterans Memorial people did the most recent research in New London's role in Civil War participation. Leona Meck has done some articles in the archives through the years on New London does have a very high percentage of its people back in the Civil War era that participated for the Union Army. Some were killed, many were captured, returned to the area, and not New London area veterans, I should say. In particular, we have an opportunity to honor and share the stories of the Barber brothers, which is another unique veteran story that is kind of unique to the United States and the world. And also, I have heard since I was a boy that New London lost more men per capita in Vietnam than any other city in the US. There's a special memorial at Memorial Park, bronze plaque that signifies that the JC's dedicated in the early 80s. There are articles about that in the paper. And it'd be kind of neat to create a special event or memorial to that effect. This may include riverboat tours. Possibly we could even get a couple of those helicopters that were so crucial to the Vietnam conflict and saving people's lives on the battlefront. Perhaps even do some living memorial encampments. If you look at the backside of Hatton Park, that landscape back there is in some ways very similar to where landing zones may have been. But living memorial encampments by era equipments, display and things like that. Could incorporate some neighboring tours to the four-wheel drive museum in Clintonville, which was detrimental in all with World War I and World War II. And they still continue to be a valuable effort in America's homeland security, firefighting apparatus, and even some of our, we don't really hear about it, but some of our military infrastructure. The EAA Museum, which is an awesome place that honors veterans in many ways by displaying the tools that veterans used. These are all very close, within a 20-minute drive in New London. And this may also include viewing the Vietnam Old Glory Honor Flight documentary at the local theater. Or, for example, the special that special honor flight that Tim went to for New York City. We could have things like that on display as part of like some activities on, say, a weekend event honoring these milestones and things in New London. And of course, our existing Veterans Memorial. I'm not sure if the Iowa Vintage Military Show still exists, but I'm sure some of the folks that helped put that on, I know that they are down at EAA sometimes. There's an encampment there during EAA days. But that'd be kind of a neat way, other than just erecting some bronze statues in some other areas, or a veterans walk in the back of the park. Those are all things that could be a year-round draw to those veterans that served their country and to other people across the United States. And then lastly, as far as a placemaking event, we all know that the sturgeon spawning in New London is a big deal. We do have the Wolf River Sturgeon Run. But this would be an event that would aim to capitalize on New London's rich history, basically surrounding the river from steamboat commerce. And of course, we'd lean very heavily on our wonderful museum here in town for some of this information, but New London's rich history of steamboat commerce, travel, logging days as part of the annual Sturgeon Run days. Offer history as to how it became a melting pot of commerce with neighboring communities like Northport, New London, Hortonville, Shiocton. Back in the days, some of these boats actually ran to Shawano, and Shawano kind of became part of that too. It would almost kind of seem to me like a genealogy project, in a way, tapping into the people that lived here and came to the area because of that type of commerce. There are stories on the books and in the records of the boats they built behind where Saputo or Hilker warehousing now is. And there was the first woman who ever came to New London, came by steamboat. And then she was also known as the first woman to sail from a steamboat to Connecticut, from, here to Connecticut. And not everybody knows, but they always fascinate at it when you tell them if they come into the bait shop or somewhere that you literally can go anywhere in the world from New London in a boat. Now it's more like a canoe or a kayak. You may have portage, but you can go either St. Lawrence Seaway, and you can go up through the Great Lakes, which is what this woman did to get to, it wasn't Connecticut, but the East Coast. And then you could also go down through Portage to the Wisconsin, Mississippi, and get down to the Gulf of Mexico. And there have been New London residents within the last, recent decades that have done it in kayaks. I know Matt McGolan was one of them, but those kind of things could be showcased during sturgeon days or our river history. But on top of that, we could offer tours, Native American history of the area, and viewings of the Wisconsin DNR, documentaries on the world's largest self-sustaining population of lake sturgeon at local theaters. I know we've hosted delegations from Russia and Ukraine back when there was peace between those countries. They were very interested in how we had the world's largest self-sustaining sturgeon population, and the DNR has a wealth of information on this that a lot of us have never even seen, but stuff that they did through the years. And we are part of the Fox Wolf River Basin Winnebago system, and half of our own population doesn't really even realize what we are living on. And so there's some untapped opportunities there with some events to bring together some people. We kind of attempted at it back when we were raising money to build the Sturgeon Trail. The UW Extension became involved. The DNR was involved. A lot of people were involved in that event. And it just we did it for 10 years, and we raised the money, and we kind of just quit. Because it's a lot of work. But there's young guys, young gals willing to, I feel that there's more of a need to bring those kind of events back. So that's my input on placemaking events. It's just, we need people to do them.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. I appreciate all that knowledge. It's really great. The next submission was from Bill.
Yeah, I didn't get into the specifics, but I think what we should do is maybe not. There's 13 of us in this room. If we get the community involved, we might get 1,000 ideas or 3,000 ideas, and mine is more holistic. It's, not make it our ideas because what I think is important, or maybe John or somebody feels important, maybe the majority doesn't. I think if we could activate the community in there, and I feel how to do that is to poll, ask the community. And if some of these ideas came in and we scrolled 1,000, you made it very clear that we're not gonna be able to do all of them. But boy, the pride of somebody coming up and saying, hey, look, this was my idea. We could even showcase that this was an idea that was generated from the community. Then we know it's there, and you've got some pride in it. There's power in numbers, and maybe some of it is simply, showcasing some of the great things we're doing, because we've shared in the past that the community is not always aware of what's happening. We're in tune with it, but maybe part of it is to just keep up on it. And I'm not the IT guy, but somebody, can share the great things happening in New London via, push notification or a website. We've got something we call at work, and we just say, people that like you do business with you. And if we've got 1,000 people or 3,000 people in the community telling their friends, neighbors, you know, they'll work in other areas. We've got 13 of us who have exposure. If we get 1,000 people who have exposure, they work in De Pere, Green Bay, Winneconne. You know, so my idea was just to get the community more involved and recognize and be thankful. Put some of the owners back on there. Because then there'd be some volunteer, I believe there would be some people piping in and seeking some volunteer efforts as well.
Perfect. I believe the next one that submitted was April.
All right, so my first idea was just to consider looking into a business incubator to support entrepreneurs and small businesses. I love the idea of maybe looking at Piggly Wiggly and remodeling it and offering a space for small businesses to start up, giving them support, and providing some programs and resources for them, kind of like a pop-up business incubator idea. Also access to capital. Maybe consider facilitating access to financing startup businesses. I have in there that the facade grant is great, but Chad and I are constantly asked, are there grants, not loans, but are there grants that help fund small businesses? A lot of businesses miss the boat on that Main Street Bounce Back grant, and that's probably the #1 question that we receive if there's aid in that. And maybe it's not just access to capital, but just understanding, having a pulse on where we can pull those grants from, whether it be from the SBA or whatnot. My next idea was just ensuring we have a pulse on what matters when it comes to our visits, maybe establishing a more structured system where we are having consistent visits from those in the community that are supporting our infrastructure development. So we have some great things going on with transportation with Waupaca County, just having consistent visits, whether those are quarterly or yearly. County's also working on broadband, making sure that we're bringing them in on a consistent basis. Having Park and Rec come in, give us an update on quality of life enhancements, hearing from our healthcare system. I think all those things tie into economic development, and having a consistent schedule of hearing from all these different community members and organizations would be beneficial for us, and just make sure that we ensure we have a pulse on what matters in our community. I had in here too, staying connected with our school district. The New London School, New London Connect app was brought up. When's the last time we kind of took a look at that? That's a multi-site app that the city and the chamber and the school have, making sure that we're analyzing that data. Regular visits from our Inspire program. That program is put in place to recruit and retain workforce talent. And I get, we've seen these people, but it's kind of like we say, okay, who's our next visit? I'm saying like having a structured visit where we have, a person coming in at each visit. So we're getting monthly updates. And then partnering with our Fox Valley Technical College, bring education training to the area. And then getting also updates on our tourism promotion and other nonprofits in the area. So again, just getting a pulse on what's happening in the area. My next idea, I learned about something called a leakage report. I don't know much about it. I reached out to the Waupaca County Economic Development, but it's a report that provides data for us to figure out who's leaving our community to shop for what. It's obviously gotten a little bit more difficult with online sales, but there are consultants and third parties that you can hire to do a report, and you can analyze that data, and then we know who to recruit, what kind of businesses we should recruit. If somebody has, wants to invest, and they want to start a business, and they say, what do we need in New London? This report would tell us exactly what people are leaving our community to go to the Fox Cities and shop for.
And Waupaca was doing that right now.
Correct. Yep. I think he has that in there. They worked with, when they did their economic resiliency strategy study. Hired a consultant to do that. So I thought that would be a great idea. And then my last idea is consider investing into a Main Street manager program. Right now, New London is a Connect community. The next step is a Main Street manager What that means is funding someone who is a full-time, very similar to an economic development director. It's someone who is funded, Christine, remind me how they're funded, 3 ways, private.
Actually, I did some digging real quick. It's it's a public partner, public. Sure,
Private
thank you.
partnership.
Thank you,
Private
Chad.
partnership.
Appreciate it. With local and potentially county government, downtown businesses and property owners, or a business improvement district if there is one, local citizens and businesses outside of the downtown. So it's a multi-stakeholder partnership.
Right, and those stakeholders come together and fund a full-time person who works with downtown businesses for development and provides resources. So much like an economic development director.
Awesome. Thank you, April. Next we have Hans. Would Hans like to talk about what you submitted?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Some of these I may have brought up in the past to either the group or individuals in the group. But the first one is currently there is no park located north of Pfeiffer Park in New London. There are quite a lot of people that live on the north side of the city that trying to get to even Pfeiffer Park could be difficult, especially if you're a child. You have to be crossing a major highway, et cetera, et cetera. So using the green space that we have that the city already owns out behind the developments, behind Walmart, using it to build both a playground for families, but then also some soccer fields. Right now, there's not a single dedicated soccer field in the city. There's something like a dozen or more ball fields, but no soccer fields. And so according to the local soccer league, there's over 400 kids that participate in that league. And if we could, it's one of those, if you build it, they will come, right? So we've all seen the amount of people that show up for baseball tournaments on a Saturday. There's no reason we couldn't be doing the same thing for soccer. So you're going to improve the quality of life for the local residents and also capture those tourism dollars as well. Second is neighborhood block parties. I think for a relatively small amount of money, the city could offer call it a block grant, right? And if a committee from a local neighborhood comes to the city with a plan to have a neighborhood block party, the city could both help them facilitate that plan as well as provide sort of some seed money to get it going. I think it would give neighbors an opportunity to get to know each other a little bit better, build some community trust and pride, and also maybe start as a launching pad for some other things that could happen at either a neighborhood level or citywide level. The last one is sort of bringing in a private entity, but the idea that I've been pushing for a while, which is that we need some beer, and we could have an opportunity to create something along the lines of like a New Glarus or Central Waters, where you're both, again, improving the quality of life for the local residents, giving us some pride in something, but then also creating an opportunity for people to come in and spend their money and spend their time from outside of New London. I've heard, I don't know if it's true, if it still remains true, but the water treatment plant is operating at significantly below its capacity, and it would benefit from having some more water intensive industry. And it seems to me that brewing would fit the bill. So let's do it.
Awesome talking points. Very cool. I guess that's all I have for submissions. Otherwise, Chad, I know we've had some extensive talks. Did you have anything you'd like to share?
I'll just bring up the ones that I sent you originally. I was in the same concept with April talking about a business retail incubator program. And I'm almost sure that some of the veterans that have been on this committee for a while, I think, Johnny, you guys have been talking about an incubator program for a while in the past at the Economic Development Committee. So there was a YouTube link here, and I got that ready to go show that of an example of that in Virginia. Focus on the buildings, hard to sell. You know, the big Wiggly building, Wolford Plaza building. There might be something going on with that to be determined there. But like April kind of mentioned, the old Piggly Wiggly building, could that become an indoor retail incubator site? In the future, there are some grants out there. Waupaca County Economic Development Corporation has stated that in the future they're looking at promoting either one or several incubator programs in the county. So I want to make sure that we're kind of in the crosshairs for that and not left behind. We talked about the John's Bar longevity space down there. Definitely looking at something in that area. But my thought was maybe hire an architect or a consultant to create a master plan for that area. There's a lot of space down there in between longevity and John's Bar. Also, we have a parcel to the west of John's Bar, and then we also have the park. So there's a lot going on there. So I think coming up with a master plan, I envision, I guess, there's an opportunity for at least some private business there to tie into placemaking with the park and between the two buildings there. So I think hiring a consultant to visualize that and see if it's possible. Maybe it's not possible to get all that in there, maybe with private business, but kind of come up with a master plan for that entire area, see how that goes. And then the facade program, we'll talk about that in a little bit more. And then Tim talked about it as well. But instead of putting out 5, 10, 15 grants a year that are smaller grants, maybe look at doing a larger grant process. So it's a little bit more of a visual impact of what that grant did. So we went to a WEDC workshop that we held here, hosted here at Familiar Grounds. And in that, one of the other communities that attended mentioned that they hired, they started a process where they actually hired the engineer architect through the city as a partnership with the private business to do a design. And then after that design was done, maybe we could come up, if they go through the entire process, maybe then that design, based on our input and our kind of blessing, city's blessing, maybe it's a larger grant. Maybe it's maybe we do one grant a year that has major impact that is visualized in the downtown instead of doing, you know, a bunch of small ones that maybe people don't notice. So, you know, food for thought. But those are kind of my ideas I threw out there as well.
Would you be able to show that video of the incubator program? I think it was really interesting. I had never heard of it until you suggested it in April, and you said that you've been talking about it for some time. So
Tim,
it'd be good for people to know what it is. Oh,
Tim, there was one more submission.
Oh, yeah.
oh, okay.
A couple ideas for placemaking. So I didn't submit it, but I did some researching.
Okay.
And there's a website called innovationquarter.com that said there's something called the Lawn on D in Boston, which was basically this like adult playground that just has like grass and there's games, chairs, and it's like a perfect hangout spot because I feel like, well, between me and my friends, there's not just one spot that's like the go-to. And this could be like perfect for like live music and maybe like movies or something like that. I also had the idea, I said a couple meetings ago for like this stone slab sculpture that over time, like this person comes and slowly starts making something. And over time, people will just keep coming back and checking what it is. And there'd be, I don't know, maybe a guessing contest for what it is. And there'd be hints, and it'd just be this kind of cool thing that people would keep coming back and visit. And like I said, it kind of, they'd maybe go shopping or something that would help out our business. And then I really like Han's idea with the block party. I think that's really cool because I've talked to like my sister's boyfriend. I heard about block parties, which I didn't even know were a thing. So I think that'd be really cool to, like he said, bring the community together, have people meet each other, because I feel like sometimes it's always good to, you know, meet your neighbors, because I'm not really close to my neighbors. So it'd be a, you know, good idea to bring the community together.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any input that they would like to share?
I have
As-
a couple talking points.
Okay.
First one right off the bat was an archery range. Currently, all of our residents leave our community for that purpose. The closest one is Cheyenne. Unless you go to indoor ranges, which is Hortonville. The other one, I think somebody else said it, 2 temporary camping. And a large venue for like carnivals and May Festival, them type of venues with bands or activities. Going back to what Bill said, that all 3 of them came from residents or community.
And I kind of have a talking point to tie into those 2 things. You know, we're talking about giving grants for doing the different things. And Bill, you were talking about getting community input. If we have a group of people that are feeling really passionate about bringing something in to the community, an event, a band or whatever, maybe we can do some grants for that as well, helping them out, bringing placemaking events into the city. I love the idea of having, like for Veterans Day, doing the honor flight viewing at the cinema. That would be a great tie-in, or even some of the historical stuff that John was talking about, those kinds of things. But the groups that would, or the people that would be really impassioned to do that amount of work, giving them the incentive and the capital to get that off the ground.
Yeah, my past experience is when you come up with ideas, the ideas that take off are the ones that the mass is
The ground
behind. And then
roots.
before you know it, they're leading it on their own.
Yeah.
And they have a person in charge, or maybe a committee or something like that. And then it's not 13 people or 15 people shooting out an idea. It's
Yeah.
1,000 people. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I can help with this, or I know how to do this. And
And they're the best attended events because
you get great buy-in, great.
yeah.
Anybody else have anything they want to share? Okay, if you want to show that video, this is the incubator program in Norfolk, Virginia. So yeah, like I said, I had never heard of that before. I thought it was a pretty interesting video and interesting topic. But anyway, I just want to say thank you everyone for all your input and participation. We need to find ways to bring people in town and entice growth within the city of New London. I feel as a committee, we are here, we can assist the staff with development projects and ideas. So that's what I brought this up and why we are discussing that, just to get the creative juices go flowing and help direct the staff and maybe come up with some ideas that they didn't come up with. So it was a really good discussion, and I think maybe we'll follow up at a later meeting and, you know, see if we can make some of these, get the ball rolling. So thank you again. Moving along, let's go to review guidelines for selling property in the Northeast Business Center.
Right, so in your packet, there was a updated document that we started discussing previous weeks. I did update it based on some of the comments we had from the last meeting. A lot of that centralized around the job, you know, what's the definition of the job? So based on the video, based on my notes, I tweaked this to say job creation, the incentive, if a company would come in. This would be, if you guys remember, we have a starting sales price in this document as of now of $10,000. And then for every job creation, there potentially could be a $1,500 deduct on that sales price. But then I further defined that a job is a full-time equivalent job. So it could be 2 part-time jobs, but it needs to be a full-time equivalent, adding up those hours together for a full-time equivalent position. Job base, the job must be based on a position with a minimum of 50% on-site work. We talked about that. That remote work really doesn't qualify because we're trying to get people in to work at that site. So someone who works mostly remote work doesn't really qualify as building a structure for trying to bring jobs to the industrial park. Each full-time job created must be filled for 5 years. I threw 5 years in here as kind of a starting point. However, I did find out that the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, for their grants, state grants, they require 10 years for the job creation. So I don't know if that's something you want to bump up farther, but I started with 5 years just to kind of be the middle of that, I guess. Job creation must be new job created within the city of New London. We talked about how we define this. Existing jobs transferred from other communities qualify. So if they're bringing jobs from Appleton for a new plant here or a new building structure here, that qualifies. However, if that same company has a structure or a job, a building somewhere else, and they're just relocating to the industrial park, we said that that would not qualify. So we want to see new jobs as the creation. So those are pretty much the changes that I brought in here based on our conversation last month. Again, this is a guideline document. It's not kind of a structure as in a strict black and white scenario. This was more so as I'm going out and talking, negotiating, I know what the flavor is behind the Economic Development Committee. What do you guys support, and how I start negotiating, talking with people. So that was the point of just kind of setting up some guidelines. Otherwise, everything else is the same from last meeting. Any questions?
Sounds good.
Do we need to do anything for you to like officially be able to, customer calls or business calls in 2 days? Do we as a committee need to say, okay, we need to, or is this a live document right now that you're already offering?
I would recommend that you guys approve this, just kind of so there's an official approval process that supports it, and then I move forward with it from there.
And is there somewhere on the end that says that, this obviously can be changed at any time? There's
I recall.
so if we do something in 2 weeks, that it's a year from now, we need to make change.
Yeah, I thought it was put in here about the flexibility of this document. Here, the guidelines outline the documents serve as a starting point for negotiations, for the city administrator has the flexibility to negotiate outside these guidelines depending on the specific of each development. But obviously, all those final developers agreements and final sale comes to the legislative and the city council for final adoption and final approval. So this just gives me a good starting point where to start the conversations.
Because right now we have nothing.
Correct. Unless there were further conversations with past city administrators, so they maybe it was just kind of understood. I wanted to get something a little bit more formal, so I'm on the same page with the committee and the council.
I feel we need a starting point.
Mhm.
And we can always adjust. At least you can pitch this 3-4 times and say, okay, you can come back and say the feedback is that, I don't know, but if we have nothing, so what do we need a motion? I'll make a motion that we try this out. Give it a shot.
Second.
We got a motion by Bill, second by Hans to adopt this guidelines for city administrator to market our space in the industrial park. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now, is there a certain marketing that you guys are looking to put it, are you just putting this on the website, on the city website? Are you gonna market it in certain areas, or?
I don't think I'll put this document per se on the website. I might follow, because I remember I brought up that this was kind of tailored after the Shawano information that I got, so I might follow their information. Kind of see how we want to market it.
Okay.
Per se, but I definitely need to do better marketing and more marketing for the industrial park. Bar none.
So right now, if somebody comes to you, then you'll have the document to give them, but we're not gonna actively be,
It might
Putting
just
it
be a
on-
verbal conversation of how
Okay.
to move forward with things, so.
I almost feel like talking that it's almost like somewhat of our guideline that we're not sharing immensely. It's like, okay, so you're interested in this, and then it's because we haven't had a guideline is what you're sharing, telling me, right? Okay, yeah. I
There
think-
hasn't been a document structure saying, that I've seen, that we're selling for, so much per acre. And we might put information out saying the starting point is $10,000 per acre and based on negotiations. Something like that.
good. Next item on the agenda is to discuss renewal of the city's downtown facade grant for 2024.
So in your packet, I did provide the 2023 guidelines or the improvement grant program that we had for the past year. Had 5 inquiries, 5 applications submitted, but as of this point in time, I've only received 2 submissions for reimbursement. There's one that's pending yet, the C ones, but since then, in the last probably month and a half, I've had several inquiries. I got at least had 2 or 3, and then in a meeting today, I had 2 or 3 other people that expressed interest in applying for the program. So all of a sudden, at the end of the year, which was too late to initiate, another grant for last year, I've got a bunch of interest. So at this point in time, based on that interest, I guess my recommendation is to renew it for at least 2024. And then in 2024, maybe one of our focuses, like I mentioned with my suggestions, maybe we look at this a little further and see how we want to change it. If we're going to get this going for 2023, I'd like to start marketing it right away. But I guess that's or 2024, I'd like to start marketing it right away. So I guess that's my recommendation, just to continue with based off the feedback I've gotten, the interest I've gotten so far. And then over 2024, look at how we want to possibly change it for 2025. If we want to make it a different impact for the facade grant program.
I think by having the downtown revitalization this year, at the end of it, it'd be nice if more businesses are coming out, looking better than what we came into it. So I think that having this program again for another year is a good idea, especially, like I said, because we're gonna be at the end of this year, I'm guessing, having a grand opening of the downtown or whatever, and to see what the downtown will look like. I think are we doing 3,000 as well for this year?
Unless you want to change it, but last year was a $3,000 matching grant.
I just personally looked into getting a new awning and sign, and it was like $9,000. So I just, give you an estimate of what it costs for a new awning and sign. So yeah, 3,000 definitely helps. And you give out how many of them, or is there a cap on it?
Last year we did up to 40,000. We didn't even get close to it. So if somebody wants to consider bumping it up to 4,000, because we didn't really have that many from last year, we can consider that. The money that we spend from this comes from our economic development reserve fund. Whoever's on the finance committee, see Judy goes through a report every month. It shows the assigned fund balances. One of those assigned fund balances is the economic development facade program. And it shows how much funding we have in there. So there's definitely funding in there to do something, $40,000 like we talked about last year. And as Judy finishes up the audit from 2023, how we fund the revenue from that program is from leftover funding from the previous year. So if the city's got extra money that we didn't spend in the city's budget from the previous year, what Judy does after the audit is go through and then will designate those extra funds in a certain program. So for example, the council, she'll bring up a report, the council will consider designating a portion of that extra funding into capital projects and equipment needs. Some of it has gone into the economic development reserve fund and some other programs. So that's how that program has been traditionally renewed or funded in the past, just by potentially leftover funds in the city's budget from the previous year. So my point is, if you want to increase it to $4,000 or whatever, to try to make it more enticing, or because you said the cost of construction and renovations are more expensive. That's an easy change. All I gotta do is change the number on there and we'll send that to the council.
How much did you say is in the fund?
Right now, we looked at the other day, it was
135,000.
135-ish, somewhere in there. And that's
So,
for the Economic Development Committee to do programs and focuses and things. So
okay,
Do you know how many facade improvements were done last year and the year before?
this past 2023, so far there were 5 applications submitted, 2 applications that actually gave me paperwork for reimbursements. I know there was another project done that I'm still waiting for the reimbursement paperwork. I don't know if that's coming through or what's going on there. The previous year, April, we had it on that sheet. Do you have that at your fingertips?
Hold on, I got it here.
A little postcard that we put out there for our initiatives. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Nope.
8 facade grants approved, $27,240.
total, like so far since we've been doing it?
No, that was just for the 2022 year.
So you had 8 of them in 2022 and you had, how many did you say this year?
That's actually
Reimbursement.
we're all the way through the process.
Okay.
That received reimbursement.
So like I said before about the downtown revitalization, if you want to come out to this and everyone's going to come downtown and say, oh, look at this beautiful road. That building is a little eyesore. I mean, maybe we want to invest a little bit more, especially this year to, have the downtown looking like a shiny new penny.
Yeah, I think it definitely needs to be extended.
It's up to you guys.
I'll leave it up to you guys.
One of these big,
Or do we want to keep it the same as 3,000 next year? Or do we wanna put economic development funds into a different location?
you said it was $9,000 just for including the
Yeah, I kind of reached out to that place out of Wausau. I said down. I designed the one on the top right, and they had a plate. They did some in Wapaka. That popcorn one is done in Wapaka, and that's what he was kind of saying. Well, we just did one in Wapaka like that, and that was 9,000 is what he quoted me. So sorry, I didn't have it on the screen or anything. You guys can pass it around, I guess.
And we recently went from 2,000 to 3,000. But inflation's going up.
I feel like more people are gonna take advantage of the construction project too. It's gonna be a domino effect of seeing new development.
I mean, if we went up to 4,000, we'll potentially give you 10 units. If we do $40,000 maximum on the program, I guess that would be my recommendation. If you want to go up to say 4,000, you still cap it at 40. And then we evaluate it, say halfway through the year, I'm still getting a ton of requests. I can come back to the committee and say, okay, we approved 10 projects. Hey, I'm getting another 5 projects or whatever. You guys want to look at the program?
Are businesses still eligible if they took advantage of the grant the year prior? Was there something in place where they?
We put in here that if you're in the construction zone, then yes, you are
That was
eligible.
waived.
Because
That's what it
to
was.
encourage
Right.
more development along the construction.
But if they're not in
roads,
the construction area,
once every 5 years.
right, okay, that's what I was remembering. Got it.
I have a question, because I'm looking at the eligibility map here and the businesses that are located within there. And I'm looking at some of the businesses that are for sale or recently sold, and they're gonna be wanting new facades. if Hilby sells, they're gonna want new signage up there. That's an extremely large building with 2 facades. So is there room for a size bump for some of these businesses? Let's say Hilby's does sell, and their facade improvement is gonna be way more than $9,000. And that's beautiful, by the way, Tim, that suggestion. Theirs is gonna be way more, so possibly based on size, if you've got a double front store or a triple front store, being able to have additional grant money going towards that.
Right now, I've been approving applications based on, for example, on the address. So if there's, I'm trying to think, if there's a parcel or something that has 3 addresses, something like that, then we're eligible for those 3 storefronts.
Okay,
But something like Hilby's, I'd have to look at if it's, I don't remember if that's 1 parcel, 1 address. You gotta kind of set boundaries somehow in some way.
right.
And if you allow one business to get a triple grant, then how come I'm not eligible for that? So
That's why it would be a size, a storefront size requirement in some way, shape, or form. Like you said, if they had, a business that had multiple addresses, and we have a few of them downtown. So, that would make sense. I was just curious about, doing something like that for some of those businesses that have a whole lot more storefront coverage to take care of.
Okay, so it's recommended by the city administrator if we want to bump it up to 4,000. Is that something you guys are in favor of, or do you want to keep it at 3, or do we want to do this at all? Is there any input on that?
In favor of opening it up for grant and extending it through 2024.
We need a motion.
was that a motion?
That's it.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by April to up it to 4,000 and continue it through the 2024 year. Second by Belinda. Is there any more discussion?
I guess I would just like to see a little bit more research into some of those larger businesses and
Yeah, if there's other communities that do something similar. I like your idea, I just don't know how it would.
I don't know either. We need more research on it.
Right.
Yeah, we need more
Like Jolly
research.
Rogers only has I don't know, I guess, I don't know. how it
Yeah.
would be Structured.
Exactly. I'm not sure either. I just know that some of those businesses have a lot more facade to cover.
No, it's a great point.
Jolly Rogers consists of 2 buildings.
Right.
So if it's, like Chad said, if it's owned or whatever, where it's still considered as 2 buildings in the city. Now they took the center wall out, so they utilize that as 1 big building. They only have 1 address. Whether they have 2 addresses out front or not, they only have 1 address, because you can go from 1 building to the other, so that makes it 1 building.
It's not 2 separate parcels.
He's got a second one though that's not open up.
Yeah, that he
He's got,
uses
or he's got the
Yeah, but the original
Yeah,
building
third-
that they were in
Yep.
was 1 building. And where their seating is, that was another building.
correct.
Got it.
Do other communities create like continuity? So when you go in through Main Street and it's all rebuilt, it looks really nice because the color scheme is very similar. It looks very, I don't know, almost planned versus, very, very different. Do they have incentives that if you make it something similar to this, will pay more? If you do something less, you get on your own? Or how do some look very like planned?
I think number 1, that's part of the conversation for the future of this program. How can we encourage historic preservation? How can we, do those type of things? Otherwise zoning, so a city has zoning set up. We have zoning Already, we have some zoning already that dictates some of the facades, some of the colors, things like that, but we're gonna go through a zoning rewrite this year, talk about how communities do that, you know, so we're hiring a consultant to help us through that process. We hopefully, I mean, the point was to hire someone who's had experience dealing with a lot of other communities to help give us information how we want to tailor that.
That was something that Lori, so Wapaka had the Main Street program, which I mentioned, in my ideas, back in the early 2000s. And it was for 6 years. She was hired on as a consultant, as a Main Street manager, and she worked with each one of those businesses to create like a beautiful downtown. That's what they contribute to why downtown Wapaka is the way it is, because of that program.
Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? So the motion, one more time, is made by April to increase the amount to $4,000 for the 2024 year for the downtown facade program. All in favor?
And to extend it for through 2024.
Extend it through 2024.
Yep, end of this year, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Since I'm the chairman, do I even have a vote?
Nope.
Oh, okay, well then I abstain, so.
So 2 abstentions.
Okay, moving right along to updates and reports. We got business updates from April.
April, hopefully if we can get this to work, yours should come up with the correct PowerPoint.
So I did a PowerPoint this year or this month for business updates. We haven't talked since November, and I feel like a lot has happened. There's still stuff that's not public that I hope we can put into my February report. So lots of good things. So we're going to start with new businesses that have come to New London since November. The first being an Herbalife store. I do not have the name of this Herbalife store, but it is, they're leasing a space right on the end of North Water Street by Anchor Park at 106 West North Water Street. They opened at the end of November. I went in to deliver posters for the parade, for the Winter Wonderland Parade, and they said, oh, we just opened on Monday. So learned about them then. Another new business that came to town end of January, or I'm sorry, the beginning of January, is the Timber X Sports Bar. They partnered with the sports complex to bring an axe throwing place, an axe throwing business to downtown. So great tourism draw. They were set up in Hortonville, and they've decided to lease space in New London. You've heard, I believe Chad's mentioned this business before, Walsh Bottling. Justin is set up over by the waters at 813 West Wolf River Ave, and he just received his license to start bottling. And we've seen places like the Bottle Shop and Bean City share that they are carrying his product, which is really great to see. It looks like it's taken off quickly. So being bottled right here in New London. Another new business, Fox Cities Bath. Lee and his wife have been doing kind of a side hustle in the Fox Cities, and it's growing quickly. So they are leasing space right across the street from the chamber at 903 North Street to set up displays, and they do bathroom conversions, bath and tub conversions. New businesses coming is the next segment. The next two that I'm going to talk about are in the new development on Shawano Street, right next to Subway, so 1186 North Shawano Street. The first one that is going to open here in February is called Creative Elements. The owner is Sarah Macbeth or McBee. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name, but she came to Chad and I in November or December and said, I'm from Clintonville, but I want to start a business in New London, which I thought was really awesome because she has all these options in Clintonville, but she said, I want to start my business in New London. She feels there's a need for creating a space for families and children to come in and use their artistic talent. So she'll have a kiln and she'll do all kinds of art classes. She's already partnering with Wolf River Art League as well. The next, I think I've mentioned this, this is also in that Shawano Street development. It's called Drop and Go. So the concept is you bring your dirty laundry in, you drop it off, someone washes it, folds it, and then you come and pick it up when it's all done. So I guess this is very popular in Green Bay, Fox City area. So we have this business, a tentative date opening February 5th. They'd also like to partner with our Amazon, UPS, FedEx carriers so that it'll be a one-stop shop to drop off your packages as well. Another new business coming downtown at 309 West North Water Street, which is the former Events Everlasting. Pam and Yash own a beautiful boutique called Olive and Rose Boutique in Appleton, and they are expanding that boutique into New London. So that will be coming spring of 2024. Events Everlasting is expanded into TV Appliance. She opened her business yesterday. She's really brought that building back to life. I stopped there yesterday and she did some paint updates and fixture updates, and it's absolutely beautiful. So definitely stop in. So she's at 509 West North Water Street now. And she's able to expand her business and offer more class space and different things for the community. She's got some consignment. She's partnering with different people in the community to do consignment shops as well. I do want to mention that Advantage Signs and Graphics has sold their business. I always get nervous when a longtime business says I'm retiring because we don't want to see a vacancy. And Cindy was able to find a married couple out of Hortonville to come in and take over the business in January. It will now be called Sign You Up Graphics and Printing. So same location, same business, just new name, new faces. Unfortunately, we had two businesses closed since last time we met. The first being Family Flippers. They're over in the Subway building. These girls, they're sisters. They started out flipping pallets, purchasing pallets and flipping the items in their garage. And they leased some space in Kurt's development, but they're going to go back now to home to drop that overhead cost of rent and continue their business from home. And then I think everybody's aware that Family Dollar also decided not to renew their 5-year lease in the plaza. They closed in January. I reached out to the owner to see if I knew that Dollar Tree had acquired Family Dollar in 2015, and now when they developed together. So I reached out to see if there were any plans like that. He was not aware of any plans in London that he was aware of. Next, I have some commercial listings that have popped up. First, we have Hilby's listed by Sandy Dufresne. No active offers on that. I did talk to Sandy. She had 315 Burton Road. I always refer to that as the Racky Road building. I know it's not the Racky Road building, but she's already got an accepted offer on that. So we have a new owner there. Gary and Lynn have owned that for years. So accepted offer on that. And then Becky has also listed the Wolf, the Grand Cinema Theater. So that is up for sale, and there are a couple interested parties in that. So hopefully we can keep that as a staple in a theater in our community and do some mixed use. I do want to remind the committee that there is a chamber listing of all vacancies in the community. Just a reminder, you don't need to be a chamber member. There is no cost. It just falls in line with economic development that if anyone has a vacant commercial space, we will list that. We'll partner with the realtor, add their link. We don't want to step on any realtor toes. We just want to get extra outreach out there and make sure that everyone in the community is aware of the vacant commercial spaces that we have in New London. And that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Well, that was absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for that, Bart. City Administrator report, Chad?
Yeah, I'm jealous. She's did PowerPoint now for the presentation. She stepped it up, so I don't know if I gotta do the same thing for my presentation. But I have in my notes, and Bill kind of brought the segue out, that the city is looking at renewing our zoning code, doing a zoning code rewrite. So that process is probably gonna take about a year to go through. We interviewed 2 consultants. We talked about that at the Planning Commission last week. Planning Commission, after the discussion, made a recommendation to council to hire one of the firms. Council will consider that at the February 20th meeting, and then if that all goes through, we'll look at starting the rewrite process. And to keep the Economic Development Committee involved, I will probably shoot out information or requests as we talk about economic development type focuses within the plan, within the zoning code, because obviously zoning has an economic development tie-in as well. It's where businesses can land, what goes on what properties and things. So I definitely want to keep the Economic Development Committee involved in that process as we move forward. Also included in your packet, Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation. In the past, this has been in the council packet, but I wanted to start putting this in the economic development packet because we have several people here from the community who don't see that on the Economic Development Committee. So I'm going to start putting the Economic Development, the Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation monthly memos in this document so everybody can see it. So you're aware of what the County Economic Development Corporation is doing. But then I also want to point out they provided a 2024 cost benefit analysis. So in the document, Jeff provided a snapshot of what all happens with Economic Development Corporation. It starts off by showing, how is it funded? The county has a portion of it. The county is the largest portion of it. Then it's public member communities. That's us. That's all the cities and some of the villages in Wapaka County are part of the members that we contribute towards the program. And there's private investors, there's grants, there's the revolving loan fund administration part of it. So this is a snapshot of how the Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation is funded. Then he kind of talks about the benefits. One of the big things that the corporation does is the revolving loan fund program. The city of New London used to have our own revolving loan fund program. However, several years ago, the state pulled those monies back. We were able to apply for them as a one-time grant. That's how we did some of these road improvement programs in the 5th Ward. But since we're in Wapaka County, we can tie into and tap off of the Wapaka County revolving loan fund program. And you can see, as of right now, there are 12 revolving loan fund loans in New London right now. And I don't know, April, if the last one, I won't say who it is, but the one just recently they got one. I don't know, maybe if we got 13. I don't know if this is updated, but one.
I'm not sure on the amount. But
one was just awarded, so.
Yeah, we have a couple coming out in one.
Yeah, so definitely we're part of this revolving loan fund program, which is good. We also got the Workforce Innovation Grant, $3.2 million that we had at the press conference here several years ago. They also got some other loan programs. Other programs, remember we talked about, we brought somebody in, talked about the Veterans Administration Program that Wapaka County's got going on. And some other information. I won't go through it all, but just a one-page snapshot from the back of what the Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation does for the county.
Is that a monthly report then that he?
This is a 2024 analysis. So this
Okay.
document here, I think is once per, I've seen it once before last year. But the previous document, this one, Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation monthly report, that one you should see on a monthly basis.
Great.
Sometimes he's behind that. I'll get one and then I'll wait and then I'll get two, but I'll continue to put them in here so you guys can see updates of what the county's doing. And that's all.
Cool. Next, we have to review potential agenda items for future meetings. One we have on here is maybe discussion regarding placemaking. Does anyone else have any agenda items?
At the end of the November meeting, there was a couple of us talking. And I don't know how to word it, how to put it in, but the billboard is always a big topic every, whatever it is, every year, every 2 years. Could we bring that up and somehow allocate it to where we can say, okay, the billboard's approved or the billboard is okay to have this taken care of, and then whatever we decide, once a year or once every 2 years, we just get a new wrap on it, because it seems we have to approve the dollars again each time, and we know we want to keep it because they're not going to let us ever have another billboard. We put that on as a
Absolutely.
topic.
That's a great point. Great idea. If anybody else ever has anything, don't, feel free to give Chad an email or let us know. Otherwise, our next meeting date is the 27th of February. Is everyone okay with that?
Tim, can we go back really quick? I don't know if I missed it, because I was catching up with you. I only caught either the adoption of the agenda or the minutes.
Correct. I did not adopt the agenda. We're gonna have to start all over.
I think we did the agenda. I'm not sure if we did.
No, I
I
think
think
we
we
did
did
not
the
do the.
minutes.
He did not do the agenda. I was
Okay,
gonna
so
say
he
something,
put-
but he kept going.
Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
Motion by April, second by Hans to adopt the agenda.
Okay, that's what I missed.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Sorry about that. I guess I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by John, second by Hans. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed?